For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. On infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections.
If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who wanted until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious.
Violence and vandalism is being led by Antifa and other radical left-wing groups who are terrorizing the innocent, destroying jobs, hurting businesses, and burning down buildings. They are coming after me because I am fighting for you. That's what's happening.
Greetings, fellow thought criminals, and thank you for joining the Insurrection. I'm Michael Lauber. This is Derrick Evans, and the drone madness is in full effect.
Absolutely it is. But hey, more importantly, we survived another week. We're starting another week, getting closer to getting President Trump back in the White House where he belongs. As always, guys, like, share, subscribe, all those good things. We really appreciate you guys. If you're watching live, give us a comment, and we'll try to give you a shout out just like this in the Twitter chat. We got Ben Martin, Brenda, and Alex already in the chat, and Tallboy as well. So appreciate you guys hanging out with us.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for joining us this morning. And besides the drones, we've got a lot of other things to talk about, but we're going to start there with the invasion of the drones. Breaking the truth behind the mystery drones over New Jersey, a government operation and a psyop. Well, I mean, we don't know this, but this is kind of the problem is there's so much conflicting information, and the federal government's refusal to give any kind of straight answer on these things is what's leading people down these paths to wonder what these really are. Like, is this something that's being tested? We're going to get into a variety of other thoughts or opinions about what this may or may not be, from the borderline insane to kind of, what we'd expect. But the bottom line is the federal government's refusal to really communicate on a lot of these or answer questions, and just some of the conflicting information we're getting out of there. It makes everybody suspect. And this is at a time where we already don't trust the Biden regime.
Absolutely. Quick shout out to Nanas in the Getter chat and Kelly Song in the Rumble chat. But that's the main issue with this, man. That's what we're kind of talking about this off air beforehand, is the fact that the no answers just leads to more questions. And now you got all these people who I believe are sincere, by the way, and you got people with actual credentials who are making speculative what's the word, not assumptions, but things that they think it could possibly be. And I think that they're well within their right to do that. And I appreciate the fact that these people are doing that, because I don't know a lot of this information and I'm taking it from them. Like there was the guy who is the CEO of that aerospace company and thinks that maybe they're looking for a nuclear warhead. Then we got the one guy who I believe is an NSA guy and thinks that it's AI taking over the drones. I mean, but these are people with credentials. It's not just some random person out here. It's not like me out here just throwing out wild ideas. And so I think it's important for us to listen to all this information, obviously, or opinions. And then obviously we need to use discernment and be able to, form our own opinions off of that. But the biggest issue right now is that our government either doesn't know what this is, or they're refusing to tell us. And I think both of those are pretty scary at this point. But if our government at this point does not know what they are and who's controlling them, that would be pretty scary in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And if that's what's behind this lack of information, they've said it's not a foreign adversary, but do we know that? Do we know for sure it isn't? If if this is just testing new technology, I mean, there have been multiple people too, and unfortunately, like validating their claims is just not really possible either. Like there's one person that said, yeah, these are nuclear sniffing drones, that these are something that have been deployed to Ukraine previously. But it's not public technology. There's another one, that they are battlefield scanning drones, basically, that look for radiation or other things. But again, the problem is this conflicting information, the lack of trust. There's no answers. And then even a lot of state and local government officials are getting extremely frustrated with the response from the federal government because of the lack of information. And yes, over the weekend, these things are now in my backwoods, less than 20 miles from where I live. Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio shuts down airspace after mysterious drone incursions. And there is a couple recordings circulating of this from air traffic controller, that there was a medevac flight and they were allowed to fly through, but had questions because they were trying to quarantine and sanitize the area, I think was the word the air traffic controller used to make sure. And they said it was a large number of drones. I'm actually going to set up a telescope up here in my house. I'm way up on a hill. I don't know if I can see clear enough to get anything, but I'm going to set that up tonight. And as long as we don't get like freezing rain or something, see if I can get anything on video. Just let it run all evening and see what we get.
Well, so man, there's so much to unpack with this. First of all, they shut down a military Air Force base because of this. So obviously the people there at the Air Force base, even the higher ups at the Air Force Base, do not know what this is or who's controlling it, or they would, they'd be in communication there. So, we were talking off air, and once again, this is all just, speculation on people's points and trying to gather some. So here are some of what I believe we can conclude, or at least this is where I'm at anyways, is if it was our government doing this, I feel like normally they have a backstory of some sort. So they would be like, oh, they came out instantly and said, oh, there's some sort of training exercise. Even if it wasn't a training exercise, like they would have had an answer of some sort. And even if they were, doing, even if they were sweeping for a nuclear bomb, they would just say it was a training exercise of some sort, and they would try to cover their tracks. But at the same time, if it's not our government doing this, then I don't think aliens or a foreign invader would feel the need to use FAA approved lights on the drones to make sure that they were, being safe and not colliding with an airplane. So I don't understand this. And so to me, I'm starting to lean towards, just based on the information I'm gathering, is that it is our government, but there's something serious going on, and it's the highest levels of our government are the only ones who are in what they would call a need-to-know basis. Obviously, the higher-ups at the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base are not, high enough to be in the know. So, I mean, when I say the top level, I don't even know if they would, some of these people would tell the president what's going on, sort of thing. Like, that's the only thing I can make sense of this, just based on the information that we do, because we do know for a fact that they are using FAA approved lights to make sure that they're safely flying at night. That's about the only thing that we know for sure at this point.
Yeah. And for this to be, above top secret or above whatever, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base is the headquarters for the National Air and Space Intelligence. So if this is above what they need to know, then what the hell's going on? One thing that's been floated around out there is this also maybe a government agency that has gone rogue and is just doing whatever they want, or even acting against the rest of the federal government, and that's why they don't want to talk. That's a real possibility. We don't know what's going on or what's on the table. We know nothing. And that's part of what makes this so scary, is we're not getting answers. And as you said, this is spreading. Originally it was mostly being highlighted in New Jersey, New York. There's various thoughts there, but this is spreading to the surrounding areas, and we're getting like reports from credible people. Yes, I used a silly photo. I probably should have left the original one. Ex-New Jersey Governor Chris Christie calls for investigation after saying drone flew over his house. He's lived there for 30 years. He said he's never seen anything like this, and it was out there hovering for hours. Larry Hogan, former governor and a recent presidential candidate, Same thing. He said he was at his home that was 25 miles from DC, saw these things in the air for hovering in one spot for at least 45 minutes towards DC. So these are credible witnesses. We've had plenty of police officers, firefighters, other people. I think we talked about Friday. The police officer was off duty and saw 50 of these things flying out of the ocean. There's a little more information there now. He contacted his station. They contacted the Coast Guard and the Navy. The Coast Guard went out hunting these things, and they spotted 13 of them. And I guess they were moving so quick they actually couldn't keep up with them. So this keeps getting more and more interesting, but we don't have answers.
Well, yeah, and that goes back to what I was saying at the very beginning is like our government, typically, if it was them, or at least it was them in terms of everybody in the government knew about it, or at least the normal people, they would have had a response ready for this. If you remember early on, they were saying, you're not seeing drones. These are airplanes. You guys are crazy. And a lot of people bought that and believed that. And it's to the point now, there's way too much evidence for them to deny it. There's way too many people who are seeing it for them to deny it. You have people such as this, like, that are, I don't want to say credible, because I don't think Chris Christie is necessarily credible, but people who are known and would have something to lose by just going out here and making this stuff up. These people are also coming out and saying that they're seeing them as well. So now they're at the point where first they were trying to deny it was even happening. Now they cannot deny that it's happening. There's no way that they can do that now, and they don't have an answer. And so that's what concerns me a little bit, but I still believe it's the highest levels of our government in some capacity, or at least in on this in some way. I don't know that. That's just my hunch at this point. But the question remains. Somebody over here in the Twitter chat, I believe it was. Man, I'm so sorry. The Twitter chat's moving pretty fast right now. But somebody was asking, why did somebody from here it was Michelle Heyer says, why has Wright-Patterson not shot down some of them and investigated them? I think that's a really good question. You are an Air Force base. This is sovereign airspace. They are telling you that they don't know who this is. There's rumors that it could be coming from an Iranian mothership, which I don't know. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying that has been a rumor by an elected official, mind you. It's not just some crazy person making these comments. So I feel that if as an Air Force base, you have an obligation to shoot it down at this point, or at least attempt to do so. Why would they shut down the airspace as opposed to scramble the fighter jets, get up there and find out what this? I mean, that's literally the point of the Air Force. So I'm really confused right now as to why they just shut it down and said, everybody go hunker down somewhere. We don't know what this is. Like, does that make sense to you? I'm like, am I crazy for thinking this way?
No, I mean, it makes perfect sense. And like, right, Pat, like, they do a lot of testing for our drone fleet. There's a lot of that kind of stuff stored there. I know they've had Raptors there for a while. Everybody knows, locally at least, that they've got nuclear weapons. Like, this is a pretty serious threat. This used to be, Wright-Patterson used to be number 3 on the list for Russia to strike, the Soviet Union to strike if we were to go to, mutually assured destruction, if there was going to be total global thermonuclear war. Wright-Pat was number 3 on the list because of the intel that's there and the logistics and supply that would be taking out our key defenses. Now, one thing I did see over the weekend, unfortunately, this wasn't exactly from the most credible, reliable source. I've never heard of him before. He seemed like some kind of crystal-licking moonbat. But he had videos, stills of a lot of these drones that were shot in New Jersey and other places, and they were looking at the pattern of the lights on them and saying, like, these don't necessarily, like, they're not all, or at least some of them aren't necessarily to meet, like, the pattern that's on drones, with red being a red light on one side, green on the other, and however it works. I don't remember the details, but he said a lot of these appear to be designed to look like other small planes. So he showed how, like, the light spacing on some of these is supposed to look like a Cessna, where it's close but it's not quite right. So maybe the lights on them are to throw people off, to make them think that there's something that they aren't. There's just so many videos floating around out there. You don't know what are real, what isn't. Supposedly a couple crashed over the weekend, and one of them, we never heard anything about what they found, or at least I haven't seen anything back about what they found. This was one in New Jersey that crashed near a shopping center, it looked like. But the bottom line still is, like, we don't have answers, and then we do have people like this out there making statements, people that know things. They're trying. They're trying to smell something on the ground. CEO of government-backed drone company drops shocking insight on New Jersey crisis, which leaves Joe Rogan alarmed. And this is where a lot of this has started to circulate regarding these are sniffing out nuclear weapons. He got into the whole thing with back in the 90s, the fall of the Soviet Union, the Soviets lost around 80 of these suitcase nukes. From what I understand, most of these were later recovered. However, an unknown number, somewhere between, I guess, 7 and 14, were never accounted for. And he says that's what they're looking for. Well, I mean, if that's the case, I understand they don't want to alarm people and panic them. But at this point, like, at least say they're sniffing for a potential nuclear device. They've got to say something, because not saying anything is just causing people to panic.
Absolutely. Well, we'll give a quick shout out to KP and Dan Dreyer in the Rumble chat. I'll be coming to the Twitter chat next time. Appreciate all you guys here hanging out with us. But man, that's the guy I was talking about, the CEO who came out. So, I mean, he is the CEO of, I think it's called Staxon Aerospace. And so they they have government contracts. They make drones and stuff such for the government and everything. So once again, this is somebody who knows what they're talking about in the drone industry. And for the record, just so everybody knows, like, I mean, I have my I had it before the government took it from me after 2 misdemeanor charges related to January 6th. But I had my commercial drone license by FAA Part 107. I'm really been into drones for a while now. And I think that one of the things that we need to, as a citizens anyways, is when we're looking at these drones, we need to try to determine, are these fixed wing or are they quadcopters? And the reason why is the quadcopters don't have nearly as big of a range. And so I'm not going to say it for sure, but when I think quadcopters at this point anyways, I'm thinking that's maybe a civilian who has launched their own drone attempting to just see what is out there, kind of like you're going to do the telescope tonight. I'm not saying that's the case, but some of these sightings we're seeing across the country right now, if they're quadcopters, I'm not saying they are, but could be just civilians who are launching them. I put it this way, a quadcopter is not going to be over Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio that was launched from New York, because they don't have the battery capacity to make it there. Now, fixed wing, potentially, not knowing the technologies that our government has, could potentially, I don't know about going there and back. I don't know, because I don't know. Once again, we don't know the technology that our government has, but they have a much, much, much larger range with those. The other thing is, these are not civilian drones, at least the main ones that everybody's talking about and seeing right now. And the reason I can say that for sure is even with the commercial drone license, DJI and all the other companies out there, they can track, and they do track where you're flying. And so like New York, New Jersey, that area, all that entire area is a no-fly zone based on local laws there because of so many airports. Not getting into the weeds about, how you can fly close to an airport, but I mean, I know all those laws and regulations, but there's state and local laws there that basically makes that whole area a no-fly zone. So these are not civilians. We know that much. I mean, so I'm trying to just think it through, I guess, out loud with you guys here on the show, even as to what we can say definitively it's not, because we don't know what it is. So I think it's very safe to say these are not civilians. It's not some pranksters or whatever, plus it'd be a lot of money to do that, but like, it's not anything like that. I've seen some people saying, oh, it's a bunch of nerds and college kids got drones and just started pranking everything. That's definitely not the case here. And this guy's claiming that they're searching for nukes that went missing from Ukraine, smuggled through Europe, smuggled through our open border under the Joe Biden regime. And there's people on record who were claiming this before the drone started. So that kind of adds a little bit of validity to his story. Is before the drone started, there was some people trying to alert our government that there was potentially a nuclear warhead being smuggled through our open border, and then the drone started, and then they said this is what we were talking about. So to me, it adds a little bit more validity because they were on the record as saying it before the drones started. If that makes sense. What are your thoughts on that, Mike?
Yeah, and again, that's why this is such a big deal and why it's credible, because yes, this is a known threat people have known about for a while. This would explain why they are, maybe they've potentially tracked one down. They believe that in New Jersey, it makes perfect sense that they would want to put one of these close to Bedminster to try to target President Trump when he'd be there at some time in the future. So it makes sense from the standpoint of our enemies. But at this point, like the jig is up, if that's really what's going on, they need to just tell people, because I do think like now, you know, what we saw the first few days were probably mostly these unknown drones, but I do think, you know, we it's drone fevers here, and I don't blame people for like launching their own to try to see what they can, but I do think a lot of these sightings now are probably consumer drones or local police departments or whoever else trying to see what they can see, but the people on the ground don't know the difference. If all of a sudden, you know, you're in a normally quiet neighborhood and at 10 o'clock at night, there's 3 different people flying their DJI drones up over their house to try to see what they can see, or even to try to track, you know, a legitimate unknown drone, that's just going to lead to more confusion and more sightings, more everything, more freaking out. Now I did see one other piece this morning, but I hadn't been able to track this down or verify it, but apparently there is a drone manufacturer that makes a VTOL, vertical takeoff and landing drone. So one of those that kind of works like a, what's it called? The Marines still use them. The, whatever that plane's called. It's on the tip of my tongue. That they were going to be testing these in the New Jersey area. And this information came out months ago, but you know, like this local news report said, like it wouldn't be at the level we're talking about now. They wouldn't be testing, you know, 50 of these things simultaneously, flying them in a swarm. And these are like 6 to 8 feet wide, 2-wing tilt rotor aircraft that are unmanned. But, you know, bottom line again is we need answers, or people are going to continue to try to speculate or just freak out. And it's only a matter of time before that leads to property damage, loss of life, or something else.
Well, once again, I think it's safe to say we got to take things that we know to be true, or at least precedent in the past. I don't think it's our military testing something out. They would do that in the desert or out over the ocean. They would not do it over a populated area if it was just the government, you know, out here testing out this new drone that they've built or whatever. I was looking up and searching here a little bit. So, man, these fixed wing military drones have even a much longer range than I even realized. And this is just public knowledge. So you know that they have stuff that's better than what they are releasing. There's one specifically that is called a MEL, which is weird because that would be not falling under DEI policies there, but it's a medium altitude, long endurance fixed wing drone. And it has a range of 200 kilometers and can go up to 30,000 feet. And so if it's and this is fixed wing, that's why it's important for me anyways to understand the ones that we're seeing, especially in the inner portions of the United States, if they're fixed wing or they're quadcopters, because I don't even think that a quadcopter has enough battery power to be launched off the ocean and fly into the coast and back, you know, like the Iranian mothership theory. But the fixed wings definitely do. They could be 100 miles off anywhere out in the ocean, 100 miles off the coast in a daggone submarine or something, could rise up, launch those things out and sink back down. And I don't know, I'm just speaking out loud here, but the fixed wings are much different and have a much longer range. And so, but I also think we have to take the possibility right now that we know that Al-Qaeda and ISIS and all these people hate us. We know that they think long-term. We know that they've been flooding our border for a really long time. It's much easier to train somebody to fly a drone than it is an airplane. So, I mean, you can give any 12-year-old, because these drones, just so you guys are aware, especially like the quadcopters and stuff, they have GPS mechanisms in them. So you put it up in the air and it'll fight against the wind. It'll hover on its own. Like you don't have to be like really, you can put it into manual mode, but you don't have to sit there and hold it and fight against the wind and keep it in. It's not like a helicopter. Like it just goes up and you can just set the remote down and it'll sit there in that same area. So basically what I'm saying is you can give this to any 12-year-old kid and they could fly a drone within an hour, you know? So you can't rule out the possibility that there's thousands, tens of thousands, potentially millions of these terrorists inside our borders who hate us, who have been trained to fly drones, and that they're launching these quadcopters from within these sleeper cells within the United States of America as well. So just because it is a quadcopter doesn't mean it's not a foreign adversary, I guess is what I'm saying here. It's very potential.
Yeah. And you know, I wouldn't be nearly as concerned with the small drones as these large ones that could carry a huge payload that'd be highly dangerous, or what I'm concerned about. But I just looked up drone loiter times. Some of our military drones, like the Predators, I'm not sure if it's a Predator series or what, some of these can loiter for 18 hours. They can circle a target and wait for the time to strike, then deploy a Hellfire missile or whatever munitions they have on them. So something this large, I'm sure, would have the same kind of capabilities. Guys, we got to take a quick break here from our sponsor, and then we're going to be right back with even more. Stay tuned.
Hey folks, it's your buddy John Rich here and co-founder of Old Glory Bank. Let me ask you a question. Why would you trust your banking with people that hate you? Well, you shouldn't. We're building a freedom economy, and now we have a pro-America bank. It's called Old Glory Bank. Check it out at oldglorybank.com and open yourself an account today.
Old Glory Bank is a full-service, FDIC-insured online bank with business and consumer banking and customers in all 50 states. It takes just 8 minutes to open an account at oldglorybank.com.
I couldn't give anything a higher endorsement.
I would be remiss had I not include Cardio Miracle on my very short list of secrets.
It's the real deal. It's a real product. It's not another supplement.
I'm operating about 6 to 8 hours, and I've noticed that being on this Cardio Miracle has made a huge difference.
Since I started taking Cardio Miracle, about 8 months into it, the benefits have been fantastic.
You know, if I get hungry, then I just have a Cardio Miracle.
Not only is it safe, but it's necessary to take Cardio Miracle to stay well.
This let me sleep. It's filling up more energy, more get up and go, and it's all because of what this company does.
For me as a doctor, Cardio Miracle is a staple.
Cardio Miracle to me is hope in a glass.
To try Cardio Miracle for yourself and get a special fan discount, go to the host page right now and click the link for Cardio Miracle.
Thank you for staying with us. And the best way to support our program and all the programs on Patriot TV is by supporting our sponsors. So please go to patriot.tv, select the Insurrection, and right below our show, you'll be able to see links to all the sponsors that make it possible for us to bring you the news the mainstream media doesn't want you to hear. Let's just jump right back into it, because I would like to get to some other stuff besides the drones today, but if that ends up being our main focus, fine with me, because today, this is the topic I'm most concerned about. So, feds have limited authority to shoot drones down seen over New Jersey, Mayorkas says. Well, this guy's an idiot and a liar, so good. Anyway, New Jersey mayor, state told us to call the bomb squad and wear hazmat suits if drone is down. Not quite sure if there's a payload or not. So, again, this is the problem. If these are the federal government's or a contractor for the federal government, and they're out there sniffing for nukes or just testing them in general, how do they not know if there's a dangerous payload on board? This seems like something that should be disseminated to the public. Now, there was another person that got a lot of attention over the weekend anonymously. However, some people were taking them pretty seriously because they seem to at least know what they're talking about related to these drones. One thing that he said is the imaging and sniffing devices that they have requires them to carry tanks of some kind of coolant. I don't remember if there's a liquid nitrogen or what, to keep the sensors chilled. We know that's how like night vision used to, or not night vision, thermal used to work on vehicles even up to like the 80s. They had to cool the lenses, and I think they work on the same principle as the stuff today, but the technology's gotten better, where it's a germanium lens. That's what they look through, but it had to be cooled to work effectively for them to see kilometers out. Now you can buy a device the size of a about 2 to 3 inches long and a little over an inch in diameter that'll do the same thing. They cost $3,000, but any civilian can buy one. But this is the kind of thing, again, that makes people nervous when we get statements like this. Show up in hazmat gear. We don't know if they're carrying a payload or what it might be. I just don't even know how to respond to some of this stuff.
I don't either. And I really appreciate, that New Jersey mayor coming out and saying that. That some people probably told him not to do that. You're going to cause panic and chaos and you can't do that. You're a mayor. And so I appreciate him for coming out and actually telling us the truth, because we're not getting answers from anybody who completely knows right now. So we're just getting bits of information from people such as that. And how the heck is Mayorkas going to say that we don't have the authority to shoot down a drone that is flying in sovereign U.S. airspace. This isn't like some gray area, like on the border with another country. Like this is over New York and New Jersey. Like this is 100% Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Well, this is 100% in United States airspace. And if we don't know what it is, they should have already been shot down. Like, I'm sorry, but they should have been. Like there's safe ways of doing it. It's a drone once again. There's net guns. There's all kinds of different options that they have there. I'm not saying they have to start, dropping bombs and shooting, things all over the place over populated areas, but there's ways to do this. There has to be. And if not, then, our government definitely went way more woke than I realized, because they're spending all their money on transgender bathrooms and getting behind on this. We absolutely have the authority and the duty and the obligation, in my opinion. And that's the other thing. There was a guy that was arrested, a citizen, a civilian, who was arrested for shooting at a drone. And look, at this point, like if the government had come out and said, we're doing a test, these are our drones, don't worry about it, and then a citizen shot at the drone, I could see why they would be arrested. Okay. Yes. But when the government is coming out, there's rumors that it's an Iranian mothership. There's rumors, all kinds of rumors, but they're saying they don't know what it is or who it is. And there's a drone flying over top of your community. I believe that he has a constitutional protection within the Second Amendment to shoot that drone down. Because one of the reasons we have that is for the militia. We are the militia. And if it's a foreign invader flying over our airspace, I believe as a citizen, you would have not only the right, but really the obligation to defend your country. And I believe that's probably what that guy was doing when he did fire upon that drone. I don't think it was the smartest decision to do. I'm not saying that. Yeah. I'm not recommending anybody to do that. But I'm saying from a legal standpoint, it's going to be interesting to see how, if it does go to court, how the judges rule on that. Because I believe, given the information that he has or had at the time, that he was well within his constitutional rights and obligation as an American citizen to protect the homeland. Those are my beliefs on that. What do you think?
Yeah, I know, I agree. But I mean, that being said, if these drones are really 8 feet in the size of an SUV, don't be shooting them down until they start actually attacking us directly, because something that weighs several hundred or even thousands of pounds falls out of the sky on your neighbor's house, they're probably dead. And again, if these are carrying some kind of a dangerous payload and the government knows that, then potentially that could wipe out an entire neighborhood. We don't know what they're carrying. It could be, we just had a bunch of viruses go missing from an Australian biolab, over 300. Who knows well, I guess we'll see what the fallout is from that. We also had Fauci's henchmen out there warning us on January 21st there'd be 100 new viruses out there. So maybe it's related. And this is why people are freaking out. So, new theory: New Jersey drone sightings may be nuclear sniffers following elevated New York City radiation levels. And it wasn't just New York. Yesterday, nuclear detectors in Chicago tripped, 2 of them. So is this suitcase nukes or other nuclear devices or something cobbled together by freaking Al-Qaeda or whoever else? Is it a dirty bomb? What's really going on? We know from recent reporting from a number of people that Al-Qaeda is back in action. Apparently they're directing a lot of the actions of Hezbollah and other people from behind the scenes. And they want a major attack on U.S. soil soon. I think they're calling it the Homeland attack or Homeland or Homefront attack. But this is one of their plans in the near future. So is this related to that? Again, that's the bottom line. I keep saying it, but the bottom line is we don't know, and that's why people are freaking out and why they want answers. And let me just check one thing before I hand this back off. Yeah, here's the other story. Let me pull this up because this ties in to what I just said. So New Jersey also receives report radioactive medical device was lost in transit, and from what I understand, just before we went on air, this has now been confirmed. But I don't feel like this one medical device going missing would be the reason for all these drones. This is one small piece of radioactive medical equipment. Like, yes, it would be dangerous. It could be used to make like a dirty bomb, but that doesn't justify like this level of what's going on.
No, I would agree. It definitely does not. The response does not match, that thing being missing, if you will. I got to clear some chats really quick. Marble, and James in the Twitter chat. We got David Doolin, Dirt Devil, Dynamic Para, Thaddeus. Sorry, guys. Janus, Greg Longley, Gene Morris, Unknown Name, Yossi Omonti, Mud Dog. Love that name. Cag. Yossi, appreciate all you guys, man. If I'm missing anybody, I'm really sorry I can't get to everybody, but we want to give you guys a shout out. Appreciate you guys for tuning in with us. And we're here live every day, guys, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. And appreciate you guys tuning in. But, man, this is, once again, the response is not matching that. So I believe, once again, we can conclude this is not a test. I don't believe that the government would, if they were conducting a test of new technology or drones or whatever, they would be doing it over the desert or over, the ocean somewhere. They would not be doing it over these highly densely populated areas such as this, and they would have a cover story for it. So if it is our government, it is coming from the very highest levels possible, because we now know, we can confirm based on the reports that have come out, that the main people over Wright-Patterson Air Force Base are not in the know, so they're not high enough. The person running Wright-Patterson Air Force Base is not high enough in the food chain to be in the know on this. So we know that much. So if it is our government, it is a very, very, very high up, need to know only situation, which, if that's the case, would lead to something much worse than that little tiny thing there that's missing. My question, Mike, and you probably know this answer, I don't, is I know that there's rumors that, a nuclear warhead was potentially smuggled into the U.S., and I believe that that's a possibility. I hate to say that.
Yeah.
I know it's scary to think about that. I think it's very possible, because, once again, these rumors had come out before the drone sighting started. So that kind of, to me, gives a little bit more credibility. And we know that our border has been just completely not only open, but I believe that the elites have been aiding and abetting and wanting, I think this might have been their backup plan, flooding the border like that in case Trump did get back in office. Now they have the people in position to cause mass chaos. So my question, Mike, is how big is a nuclear warhead? I mean, as a regular person, you see these missiles. I don't understand it's an entire missile, but they're hauled in on trucks and stuff. Like, could somebody somewhat easily smuggle a nuclear warhead across the border? I mean, or are these things massive? I don't know that answer. Maybe somebody in the chat does. I don't know, but I think that's some important information we should probably try to find out if we want to give any credibility. I mean, if it's something that has to be hauled in on a big giant semi truck with wide load and shutting down roads, like, I think we could say that didn't happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if it's something that can be smuggled in, even in a car or a regular vehicle, then there's some possibility there. So what are your thoughts?
Well, and that's the thing, is they come in a lot of different flavors. As we're talking about now, they had small suitcase nukes. These wouldn't cause, this wouldn't be like a Hiroshima or Nagasaki or a modern like hydrogen bomb type detonation, but maybe it can vaporize a city block. And it would still leave residual radiation. It would be a true weapon of terror. I mean, yeah, you'd have thousands of lives lost immediately, but you'd also have the fallout to deal with and the panic. So even a small device would be extremely dangerous. Now, moving on to more like battlefield type nukes, those could be the size of, say a small like generator to a large generator. I mean, they could certainly be smuggled in a truck, especially if they wanted to hide it.
Thaddeus, real quick. Thaddeus says it could fit in a suitcase, so about it.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And the nuclear component of the warhead on a lot of them is small. Sometimes there's spheres and that are a foot in diameter or even smaller. There's different types of nuclear warheads too, just so we're clear. Like a hydrogen bomb is a 2-stage detonation. It's a conventional nuke that then detonates, causes a secondary reaction. There's also salted warheads, so it's cesium and other things designed to make an area unlivable for centuries. So there's a huge variety of what it could be and a huge number of sizes. And they could have had assistance sneaking this in, as you said. There's rogue elements within our government that work with terrorist organizations. We already know this. So who's to say they didn't assist? Because in the long run, they want to get something that they want. Their agenda doesn't align with ours, and they really are have turned into enemies of the state. And we ought to get to one other theory too before we move on to our next story that you kind of touched on earlier, and that's there's some information floating around out there. People at the Pentagon, the NSA, and others are saying potentially these are being controlled by a rogue AI. As insane as that sounds, that this is an AI that's assumed control over some of these units, that it's maybe it hasn't turned into Skynet just yet, but that They don't know what to do to bring it down to stop it. They don't know if the data that forms the AI's intelligence is stored off-site or how widespread it is. I mean, that sounds insane, but at this point, I'm not taking anything off the table.
Oh, I agree. And I think at the end of the day, I mean, when someone who works for the NSA says that, as crazy as it sounds, I think it's our job to at least let the audience know that that is a theory out there from someone within the NSA. This isn't, once again, just some random, anonymous post on some random website that nobody's heard of. I mean, this is somebody within the NSA who is making this claim or theory or assumption or whatever. And so I do think that it's our job to make sure people are aware of that information. What you do with that is up to you. And to be honest with you, out of all the things, I think that would be the most scary. I think that if that was true, I believe that would be more scary than an Iranian mothership off the coast out there, just for me personally, if that were true. I don't necessarily believe that, but it would explain somewhat in terms of nobody within our government knowing what's going on, if you will, in terms of the highest of the highest level people in the need to know thing. My question too is, and this is maybe you don't know, Mike, maybe some in the audience, and this is why I love you guys all in the chats and stuff too. And I read all the comments, even just so you guys know, I read every single comment throughout the show. But are there other forms of like sniffers type things? So I guess what I'm getting at is, I remember in the 2000s, there was like, the big threat of anthrax, and they were worried that people would dump that into like the water supply in New York City or something along those lines. Like, and we know that there's 300 missing viruses and we don't even know what viruses they are. And so I guess what I'm getting at is there a way that these drones could be, and nobody said this is just me asking a question out loud. Is there any way that they could be sniffing for some sort of biological weapon? Do they have that capability? Because to me, the biological stuff is more scary than the nuclear stuff from the standpoint of I think it'd be a lot easier to smuggle it in, and you could take something that's this size, and if it was properly formulated, it could literally wipe out all of New York City, and then the drones could actually carry them, and they could drop them and hit the sidewalk and bust. I mean, there's all these different things. So is there a way that they could be sniffing for biological sort of warfare?
Yes. So like we do have sniffers that can sniff out various things. These are usually geared towards like chemical weapons, things like that, or precursors that would detect it. But yeah, we do have sniffer technology. I believe those could also find like anthrax and other bacteria. But like you said, like that's the bottom line is aerosolizing something, a disease, something extremely dangerous, spraying it over a major city, causing tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of deaths. And if it's something that's, say, slow acting that takes a week before you have any symptoms, but in the meantime, you're contagious, nobody knows. They're moving all over the country. They're jumping on their flights. They're going on with life as normal, infecting more and more people until it hits critical mass and people start showing symptoms. We wouldn't have any idea anything was going on unless they're looking for it. But guys, we do have to take one more quick break, hear from our sponsor, and then we'll be right back to scare even more people.
Hey, Patriot TV fans, feel like there's nothing on the radio for like-minded, intelligent people like yourself? Well, great news. Now you can stream Patriot TV on TuneIn during your drive to or from work. Whether you're stuck in traffic or cruising down the highway, you can catch every conversation from your favorite show hosts right in your car. No more mindless jibber-jabber. Tune in 24/7 on the road, at the gym, or wherever you are. Download the free TuneIn app now on Apple, Android, or your computer and never miss a beat. Patriot TV, now on TuneIn.
My name is General Mike Flynn, and I want everyone to know that I stand fully behind Beverly Hills Precious Metals and its owner, Andrew Sorcini. We are facing one of the greatest periods of financial uncertainty in both American and world history, and so now is the time to organize your finances. With the advent of the BRICS pay system, we need to now seriously consider how we can take better care of ourselves and our families and start some serious decision making when it comes to our wealth. You can also ask about their newest 2-ounce coin of yours truly. It's an absolutely great gift, and I am deeply honored to be part of history, as well as helping people protect their finances, their wealth, and their investments. So visit gold.generalflynn.com. Tell them the General sent you. Thank you so very much. God bless you, and God bless America.
Thank you for staying with us. And again, please support the sponsors that support our program and all the programs on Patriot TV. Go to gold.generalflynn.com. Protect your financial future. Hedge your bets with all the inflation coming, and it's coming down the pike. Invest in gold. And again, that's what allows us to bring you the news the mainstream media doesn't want you to hear. Before we move on to our next topic, I do want to continue on this, I guess, to kind of wrap things up. But yeah, the AI theory sounds far out, but, if a bunch of people named John Connor start dropping dead all of a sudden, I guess we'll know what's up. But, I sound like a broken record, but the bottom line is the reason people are scared is because we can't get a real confirmation from our government. Instead, we're getting circles, we're getting misinformation, we're getting lies. We know they have to at least have an idea of what this is, even if they don't have it nailed down, and that needs to be relayed over to the public at this point. This is too big for them to keep it to themselves. They've said it's not a foreign adversary, but they also said they don't know what it is. So this doesn't make any sense. Until the threat is identified, it's a threat. Maybe it is something that is not dangerous. Maybe this is just a drone company testing a new product or testing whatever. But I feel like if that were the case, they would have come forward and said something if it wasn't at the military level. And if it is something that's military, then at least give us a broad idea so people quit freaking out and wondering if we're being invaded by space aliens, Iranians, the Chinese, whoever else it could possibly be. But drones are not the only thing going on. Sorry,
final word on that. Dirt Devil in the Twitter chat, I think, is a good comment to put a button on it for me anyways. If Mayorkas says there's nothing to worry about, you better be worried about something. And so I think that's a good way for me to sum up the drone situation.
Yes, when the government tells you not to worry, that's definitely when you should panic. So from Breitbart, hostage deal or Iran strike imminent. Netanyahu's backing up Trump on this one. Trump said he wants these hostages released before he's sworn in January. And Netanyahu's starting to apply some heat. And, this is at a time where we know that Islamic terrorism is hurting. They've been very effective with their strikes going after them in Gaza. A lot of people think it's overkill. I don't really have those kind of sympathies for terrorists. I know they like to use hostages and human shields to drum up the civilian death count so that people feel sorry for them so they can slink off and hide in the shadows only to strike and kill innocent people again. But yeah, I think this is good that Netanyahu is starting to apply some heat and help Trump with getting these hostages released. The Biden regime has been useless. They still have 80 plus hostages right now, including dozens of Americans. And I just don't see the regime doing much to get it back. It doesn't seem to be a priority. But, right after Trump won the election, we gave Iran another $10 billion. That seems to be a priority for the Biden regime, which seems a little backwards to me.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. As all this stuff starts to shake out between now and President Trump getting sworn in, you have to remember that everything that the Iranian people are doing, these terrorists are doing, are funded by us, you and me, and the taxpayers and everything else. But I guess not technically. We had that money, we froze that money, we took that money, and our government gave it back to them. That is unbelievable. We did it the first time just a few weeks, maybe a few months before they had that big attack where they flew in on paragliders and captured a lot of these people.
October 7th.
Yeah. So we gave them the money, we released the money for them to do that. And then here we are, turned around, we're dealing with this. And what does Biden do? He turns around. And honestly, you have to wonder, is there a kickback in these deals back to the big guy on this? Because I believe it's safe to say that he is absolutely auctioning off pardons at this point. And so I would not be surprised if he's not, I'll release that $10 billion to you guys if you give something back to our family sort of thing. Because it's the only thing that would make sense would be to do this for personal gain. So as all this unfolds, just remember that the Biden regime are the ones who's released this money and given it to them to do all these terrible things that they're doing.
Yeah, I suppose he can just launder it through Hunter since he's immune from prosecution through January 20th. So it doesn't even have to be behind closed doors. They could just write him a check for $1 billion, 10% for the big guy. Well, Mazzy's out there speaking on this in Syria and everything else. The timing is no mistake. It was the signal to the deep state to go in for the kill. Rep. Thomas Massey claims the U.S. facilitated regime change in Syria, and I have very little doubt that he is exactly correct on this. We know several of these groups have had previous connections to the CIA and the State Department. All of a sudden, a bunch of them are rebranded. We're seeing people pop back up from ISIS and Al-Qaeda and wherever else. All these little groups that are all interconnected. And yeah, I think they pulled the trigger there to collapse Syria. And I hate to think what the next stage of their plan is, but I imagine it isn't good for any of us. I'm sure it's to facilitate endless war and help try stymie Trump, prevent him from bringing on more peace and more success and more prosperity for the world.
Oh, that's exactly what it is. And 100% our government was involved in this quote unquote regime change. They always are. They always have been. And more importantly than the government, it's really our government on behalf of the military industrial complex who owns half our politicians and our government. I believe that they're doing this and ramping it up because everybody's focused on the Ukraine-Russia, and they know that Trump's focused on that as well. And they're going to be losing a lot of money as that war starts to wind down. And so they've got to start something else somewhere else so that they can continue profiting off the deaths of random, peasants, all of us peasants out here. That is what I believe. Thaddeus in the Twitter chat brings up a good point. He says we need to destroy Iran's ability to make war now while they're back on their heels. And I agree with that 100%, but instead we're giving them billions of dollars and letting them rebuild themselves and get back up on their feet.
Yeah, it seems like a brilliant strategy, doesn't it? We continue to unload billions and billions of dollars to countries that hate us, that terrorize our regional partners, and bring nothing but death and destruction to the world. It's pure insanity, and Trump being sworn back in January can't come quick enough because we don't know what other sabotage these leftists in D.C., these deep state globalists, what dirty tricks do they still have, and what other landmines have they planted for us to only uncover later. But at the end of the day, it's only bad for us, whatever the deep state wants to do, and only bad for the globe. Well, Reform's UK's billionaire finance chief, Nick Candy, to meet with Elon Musk. World's richest man could donate $100 million to fuel Farage's populist revolution. And Farage and his party have pulled ahead. They're now beating Labour. Reform UK is now beating Labour in the polling across England. And Farage could end up prime minister. So... And the same thing, Le Pen's ahead in France. The whole globe is moving towards right-wing populism, and this will be better for all of us. Once this is enacted, we can really push back en masse against the EU, the WEF, the UN, and everyone else trying to control our lives and control our energy systems, our financial systems. This is good news for the world.
Yeah, look, if we want to fight back against the globalist agenda, which I do, then we need some allies to help us do that. I'm tired of America being the only ones who's ever doing those sorts of things. So this is good news, and I don't know if people have been paying attention or not, but I mean, Europe, England, UK, that area is in a mess right now. We talk about the political prisoners here in America, and I'm thankful for people talking about us, but they have their own political prisoners going on in the UK right now. And in some ways it's even worse. Like some of these people are going to prison, I mean, literally for posting things, opinions, not threats or anything like that, but literally just posting opinions on the internet. Like one guy got thrown in prison because he said that these people were coming in and raping, these Muslims, terrorists were coming in and raping the women of the UK, which is true. They are doing that. And so could you imagine someone here in America saying, well, these people raped and murdered that poor girl, and then you get thrown in prison for saying that? That's what's happening in UK right now. So it's pretty wild over there right now. I'm happy to see that Elon Musk. I'm glad he put us first. I'm glad we got our stuff moving in the right direction. I don't think he's going to forget about us in that regard. He's got a lot of money, but I'm happy to see him, ramping it up over there as well. And honestly, as the owner of X, he needs to be, because people are getting thrown in prison for posting things on X over there in the UK, and they're throwing them in prison for doing so, and they're threatening to extradite people from other countries who are posting things that goes against their policy there in the UK. Imagine someone in America living in New York City, Chicago, somewhere, making a comment about this on X to the UK government, and them trying to extradite you over there to face the consequences of that. That's what they're trying to do. I mean, it is insane, and I know it sounds far-fetched. I believe the Biden administration would extradite someone and send them over there, to be honest with you. I really do.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's exactly it. They're literally prosecuting people for thought crimes. In 1984, it wasn't supposed to be an instruction manual, but there seem to be an awfully lot of governments right now that think it was. And but again, the good news is the tide's turning on that. People finally had it with it. They don't. Most people are not nanny staters that want people prosecuted for posts they made on Facebook, and luckily that is there is starting to be some pushback there. Oh, this was glorious. Breaking. Trump wins $15 million settlement from ABC's defamation suit after George Stephanopoulos claimed he was found liable for rape. So, Stephanopoulos deleted his Twitter account all weekend. You had leftist talking heads, pretending to be journalists, talking about how terrible this was, and it was a attack on journalism, an attack on free speech, blah, blah, blah. No, this is a liar going out there and defaming somebody over and over again, like all you losers do in the mainstream media. You lie about President Trump constantly, pretend that he's the liar, and then you want to be able to say whatever you want with no repercussions, no clarity, no apologies, no anything. So this taught ABC a lesson. Well, hopefully, I don't know that they learned it yet, but at least it's a step in that direction.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I'm so happy that ABC and George Stephanopoulos had to pay this, and he deleted his Twitter account, the whole 9 yards. I hope that Trump continues this, though, because guess what? There's another person that is pretty big on X who's been doing the same thing, the little Krasenstein twerp. There's all kinds of screenshots of that. I want to see Trump go after them for doing the exact same thing. They were out here posting all these things, making these claims, all for clicks. They have a big following. It's not like it's somebody with 100 followers and some random person. This is somebody who, quote unquote, claims to be an influencer, and you're out here influencing a bunch of lies and defaming, President Trump in doing so. The precedent is already there. Go after those little Krasenstein turds and hold them accountable as well. And I would be absolutely pumped to see them do that.
Well, let's end things on a confused note. Biden orders government organization responsible for weather forecasts to use special Indian knowledge. If we have any Native Americans out there in the audience, I would like some clarification on this. What is the special Indian weather knowledge? I am not familiar with this. I'm going to reach out to some relatives later and see if any of them have heard anything. I was totally unaware. But can we expect forecasters to start doing like rain dances or any thoughts on this?
I don't know what he means. I really don't. This is one of those situations like during the debate and President Trump was like, I don't know what he means. I don't even think he knows what he means. I think this is one of those situations where I don't even think he knows what he means on this. This is Dementia Joe at his best, and it's hilarious. I love the picture that they used of him, by the way. That's one of my favorites. I appreciate all you guys for tuning in. Last round of shout outs here. I want to throw out a shout out to George, Brent, and even Gary, who loves President Trump. Apparently he doesn't, but I'm going to say that anyways. Gene, appreciate all you guys for and JD over here in the Twitter chat. Appreciate you guys.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for being there every day, guys. It's going to help us grow to bring more people the news the mainstream media doesn't want you to hear. But yeah, I kind of wonder if Biden wasn't just like he nodded off, woke up, and then he said what he was dreaming about, and now it's turned into a news story, and then he had to stick with it because he already said it. But yeah, guys, thank you for being here today. Thank you for joining us. Please like, share, and subscribe. Help us to grow so we can bring more people the news the mainstream media doesn't want you to hear. And we'll be back tomorrow with even more. Who knows? Maybe it'll be space aliens by then.